Welcome back, everybody, from another deep dive. You ready to get into it?
Always.
Okay, awesome.
Hmm.
So today we're going to be talking about goals, but not just the, typical like how to set them or whatever. We're going to be looking at how people talk about their goals.
That's right. And we've got some great real-world conversation examples to pick apart. And what's really interesting is how the language changes depending on what type of goal you're talking about,
Yeah.
like personal goals versus career aspirations.
Yeah, it's true. It's almost like each of those areas has its own like language of success.
Exactly.
So to get started, this source material we have today breaks down goal talk into three scenarios.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we've got personal goals, we've got career aspirations, and then kind of like the big long-term dreams.
That's a smart way to organize it because it's kind of how we think about goals in our own lives, right?
Right. Yeah, like first you got to nail those personal goals, then figure out the whole career thing, and then you can start dreaming big. Okay, so let's jump into those personal goals. So there's this conversation between Ryan and Mia where they're talking about getting fit and also learning a new language.
Okay.
And what stood out to me was when Mia said, maybe we can hold each other accountable.
I love that
Ah,
because accountability is so important.
yeah.
And there's actually a ton of research that shows that we're way more likely to actually stick to goals when we tell other people about them.
That's interesting. Why is that, though? Is it just like having someone to nag you if you slack off?
Well, sure, there's a little bit of that,
Yeah.
but it's more than that. It's like, you know how important it is to have a good support system, right? Like people who encourage you and help you through tough times.
Yeah.
So when you share your goal with someone, it's like you're bringing them into your support system. They can cheer you on and celebrate your wins with you. It's huge for staying motivated.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like having a teammate instead of trying to do everything on your own.
Right. Exactly.
But I guess it could also add some pressure, too, right? Like, what if you don't achieve the goal you told everyone about?
You're right about that. It's super important to find an accountability partner who is supportive but also understands you. Someone who will challenge you but not make you feel bad if you mess up.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just about telling anyone, it's about finding the right person.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on now to career aspirations. The conversation between David and Sarah in our source material felt totally different. Like their language was much more focused and direct.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They were using phrases like move into a leadership role and boost your career. It's way more action-oriented.
Right. It's like they're not messing around.
It reflects the whole professional environment,
Yeah.
you know? Like in the workplace, you have to be clear and you have to be able to measure results.
Yeah, that's true. But isn't that kind of approach a little too blunt for some workplaces? Like, what if you're in a place where being that direct is not really the norm?
You're so right. Different workplaces definitely have different styles of communication.
Yeah.
Like in some places, it's totally fine to be super upfront about what you want.
Yeah.
But in other places, it's better to be a bit more subtle.
So it sounds like you really have to pay attention to the company culture and kind of adjust how you talk about your goals.
Exactly. It's about being strategic. For example, instead of saying, I want a promotion, you could say something like, I'm looking for opportunities to develop my leadership skills.
Oh, that's smart. It gets the point across without being too aggressive.
Right, you're speaking the same language, but with a different accent.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's move on to the really big stuff. The long-term dreams.
The fun stuff.
Yeah. So in our source material, we have Bella who dreams of opening a cafe,
Nice.
which sounds super ambitious. But what's cool is that she's not just dreaming about it. She's taking actual steps. She's doing research scouting locations.
I love that. That's what separates a dream from a goal, right?
Yeah,
Taking action.
right. It's the difference between wishing for something and actually working towards it.
Exactly. And breaking down a huge goal, like opening a cafe into smaller steps, makes it way less overwhelming, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment along the way.
Right. It's like you're building momentum.
Exactly.
But even with a plan, I feel like those big dreams can still be scary sometimes, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the language we use can really make a difference.
How so?
Think about it. Bella doesn't just say, I want to open a cafe someday. She says things like, I'm researching different business models and I'm scouting potential locations.
Oh, I see. So it's about talking about the steps you're taking as if they're already happening.
Exactly. It's about shifting from passive wishing to
Yeah.
active doing.
That's really cool. And I guess when you talk about it that way, it also makes it easier for other people to offer support and encouragement, right?
Exactly. It's like you're inviting them to be part of your journey.
I'm starting to see how these conversations about goals are way more important than I thought. They're like little strategy sessions.
They really are. Yeah, they give you a chance to like think things through,
Yeah.
get organized, and of course get support from people.
Right. Yeah, and speaking of support, I noticed that when Bella and Alex were talking about their long-term dreams, there was so much like positive energy. It was really cool.
Totally. They were like feeding off of each other's enthusiasm, bouncing ideas around, celebrating every little step.
Yeah. And you know what? It made me think about something you said earlier about how positive reinforcement can actually rewire our brains.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole fascinating topic.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. Like, how does that actually work?
Okay, so basically, our brains have this reward system,
Yeah.
right? And whenever we achieve something, even something small, our brain releases dopamine,
Oh, man.
which is a neurotransmitter that's associated with pleasure and motivation. So basically, it makes us feel good.
So it's like our brain giving us a little pat on the back every time we do something good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more we experience that reward, the more our brain wants to keep doing the things that led to it.
Interesting. So that's why it's so important to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Exactly. Because it strengthens those neural pathways
Yeah.
and makes us more likely to keep going even when things get tough.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to goal setting.
I know, right? It's powerful stuff.
But what about when we hit setbacks? You know those moments when you just feel like giving up? Does that like undo all the positive reinforcement?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And yes, setbacks are definitely a part of the journey.
Yeah.
They can make us feel discouraged, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's where having a strong support system is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because those people can help us to reframe those setbacks as learning opportunities instead of failures.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
It's about focusing on the progress you've already made and using the setback as a chance to learn and adjust your approach.
Okay. That makes sense. So it's not just about celebrating the wins, it's also about having people to help you through the tough times.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest takeaways for me from all these conversations is the power of specific phrases.
Oh, yeah. Like when Mia said, hold each other accountable, or when David talked about moving into a leadership role.
Exactly. Those phrases aren't just random words. They carry a lot of weight. They signal intention and commitment.
Right. So when we use specific language to talk about our goals, it's like we're making them more real, more concrete.
Exactly. It's like you're drawing a map to your destination.
I like that. So it's not enough to just have a vague idea of what we want. We have to actually articulate it in a clear and specific way.
Exactly. Think about it.
Yeah.
Would you be more motivated by the statement, I want to be healthier, or I'm committed to working out 3 times a week and eating more vegetables?
Definitely the second one. It's way more actionable.
Right. It leaves no room for ambiguity, and it creates a sense of accountability.
I'm starting to realize how much I need to work on my own goal-setting language. It's like a whole new skill to learn.
Well, and remember, it's not about using fancy words or jargon. It's about finding the language that resonates with you, that captures the essence of what you want to achieve.
Okay. So it's about finding your own personal goal-setting voice.
Exactly.
What are some of the phrases that you find particularly powerful?
Well, one that I really like is, I'm exploring possibilities too.
Oh, I like that.
It implies that you're open to different options and approaches, which is so important for big, ambitious goals where the path might not be clear from the start.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's optimistic. It's proactive. It's like you're saying, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get there, but I'm committed to figuring it out.
Right.
Okay. What else?
Another one I like is, I'm committed to,
Okay.
because it's a powerful statement of intent. It shows that you're not just thinking about it, you're actually taking action.
I'm definitely going to start using those phrases more. This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. It's amazing how much power our words have.
I know. It's really incredible.
Like we can literally shape our reality with the language we use.
It's like building a bridge between your inner world and the outer world.
Yeah. And you know what? It makes me wonder about those moments when we're struggling with self-doubt. Do the words we use in those moments matter as much as the words we use when we're feeling confident?
Oh, absolutely. Those moments of self-doubt, they can be so powerful. And not in a good way.
Right. It's like they can totally derail us if we're not careful.
Exactly.
So how do we use language to fight back against those negative thoughts? Do we just like try to ignore them?
You know, it's funny you say that, because ignoring them almost never works.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It's more about acknowledging those doubts, but then trying to reframe them.
Okay.
So for example, instead of saying, I can't do this, you could say, this is really challenging, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like you're not denying the difficulty, but you're also not letting it stop you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about maintaining that growth mindset, even when things get tough.
And that brings us back to the importance of language, right?
Yes.
Like both the language we use with ourselves and the language we use when we talk to others about our goals.
It's all connected.
It's like we're creating this soundtrack for our journey.
I love that.
And the more positive and empowering the lyrics are, the more likely we are to actually reach our destination. And we need those other voices too, right? Like the people who cheer us on and remind us why we started in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need those accountability partners,
Mhm.
those cheerleaders, those people who believe in us even when we don't believe in ourselves.
This has been such a cool deep dive. I feel like I'm seeing language in a whole new light now.
Oh, you too. It's amazing how much power our words have.
It's like they're not just sounds. They're tools that we can use to shape our thoughts, our actions, and ultimately our reality.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And now I have a question for you.
Okay.
Out of all the phrases and strategies we talked about today, which ones resonated most with you? Which ones are you going to try out this week?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm already thinking about a few. I really like that I'm exploring possibilities to phrase.
Yeah.
It just feels so open and full of potential.
I know, right? That's a
Thanks.
great one.
So yeah, I'm going to try that one out. And I'm also going to be more mindful in general about the language I use when I'm talking about my girls.
Awesome. I love it.
Well, this has been fantastic. Thanks for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to everyone listening out there, remember that your words have power. Use them wisely. Use them intentionally. And who knows, maybe you'll surprise yourself with what you can achieve.
That's the spirit.
All right. Until next time, keep those conversations flowing. Keep those goals in sight. And keep reaching for those stars.